people to establish cover crops after maize, environmental consequences of leaving stubbles bare over winter, and then benefits of establishing cover crops. And then, based on a conversation that I had with Matt, are you doing trial work currently?
We are looking at crops which are suitable to go in after maize.
Okay.
We've had a minor kind of look into it this last season, and it's very much looking at a practical solution which gives farmers not only the environmental benefits of not losing soil erosion and nitrate losses, but also that can work in an animal livestock based system. So something that can derive a forage yield or be used within the livestock sector.
Perfect. Do you have any hard data that you would like to include in this piece?
Well, what we're currently, it's still in the ground now.
Okay.
So we've looked at triticale hybrid rye, a novel triticale which is called Wintermax Triticale T100, which is also currently in undergoing NL trials, and Italian ryegrass and Westerwald, and to see whether or not they can be sown and how they can be sown after a maize crop to ensure establishment, but also give something meaningful. So they went in last November and are growing through the season now. We've had a very kind winter, but we haven't got any yield data yet. But it's looking quite encouraging at the moment.
Okay, that's right. When will that data be available?
I'm going to take some preliminary yield data now, but I might wait another month so that it sort of ties in with when people might get first cut.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, just to get us started, how common of a practice is establishing cover crops after maize? Or are there a lot of people leaving stubbles bare over winter?
I think it's an increasing practice because of the awareness of the dangers of leaving stubbles bare. With the leaching risk, soil erosion risk, a lot of maize is grown in livestock areas that are prone to more runoff, like in Devon and places like that. You see quite a lot in the press coming through about loss of soils going down the road into the water courses, and I think that's driving farmers' awareness that actually their soil's their most valuable asset. And they need to protect it. So I think it's a changing time for it, and I think if farmers can find a viable, cost-effective alternative that will not only derive the environmental but economic benefits, I think that it will be adopted even further.
Okay. We've already mentioned on this a little bit. So what are some of the environmental consequences of leaving stubbles bare over winter?
Probably the two big ones that I can see are soil erosion, so actively losing quite a significant proportion of your topsoil into the water courses and ditches and margins around the field. And then I'd say the other one is nitrate leaching, in that you're leaving an exposed site with nitrate fully in order to enter water courses from there.
Okay. How about other things like soil health and that kind of thing, in terms of just leaving it bare over the winter?
I would say that undoubtedly soil health is improved. I would say that, and I haven't got any figures on earthworms or structure or that kind of thing, but that soil biota tends to function a lot better a lot more successfully when there is a growing crop there. And it's actually when that gets out of sync that you lead to further problems such as nitrate leaching. If there was a crop growing there, then that nitrate would not be so easily leached out of the soil because you'd have it being taken up, but also you'd have water being taken as well, so there'd be less available to run through the profile. So the whole soil biota works together to cycle nutrients and hold itself together in peace stability. And if you don't have a crop in there, that tends to make it quite go out of balance.
Okay. And then let's jump into the benefits of establishing cover crops. So things like, well, you mentioned soil health, soil structure, and, other things like, can you get some free nitrogen out of the deal, that kind of thing.
Well, if you have a temporary crop of any description that's a cover crop, it tends to be of a temporary basis. It doesn't have to be. If we're talking about these that are coming in after May, they're likely to be temporary. So they act as temporary storage. So they're acting as temporary storage for nitrogen. So rather than it being lost or being leached, and rather than it's being held within the plant material. Now either that can be interred back in and you sort of mulch back in as then a nitrogen source for another crop further down the line, or it can be cut and removed and effectively turned into protein that will be then fed to livestock.
Okay. And then timing-wise, when would you be establishing your cover crop? And then when would you be looking to utilize it? And then when would you be looking to destroy it? So
there's sort of a range of answers in there, and most of it depends on what it is you're trying to achieve. So I would say that a good practice would be to look firstly at your maize crop and say, can I grow an earlier maturing variety that then won't compromise myself on yield, but will give me an earlier window in order to be able to sow my cover crop and get it well established? Because the biggest thing is being able to cover crops to be able to mediate these results. They need to be drilled early enough and be actively growing through the winter period. So I think first we need to look at the maize variety and make sure that you're growing something that's appropriate, maybe even slightly earlier than normal, so that then you have the opportunity to have a sowing window behind the maize.
Yeah.
And then if we're looking purely at a cover crop angle, then you want to be taking that cover crop off probably around about now. Maybe either for an early bite of a forage, or depending on what you want to go in now. So if you want to put it into a spring barley, or if you want to go back into maize, you have the options to do so. If you let your cover crop go too far into the season, it tends to be more of a problem that it's taken up the water availability that then might be available for the next crop.
Are you currently trialing it as grazing livestock on the cover crops on the field, or are you just cutting for yield?
So we're not grazing. We're not grazing as such. It's in the trials research station. And I'm very terrified about putting livestock in there in case of where they get.
Yes.
But we will be taking yield samples over probably next week, and then in a month's time, and just seeing what the potential yield is, and we'll be doing quality on that as well. So we get an idea of the feed value, either if it was to be grazed off or if it was to be ensiled.
Okay. So if it's being grazed off, and I guess even ensiled, those stubbles that are left in the field, will that contribute to dry matter for livestock consumption?
It can actually be, the stubble that's there can quite often be considered more of a hindrance.
Okay.
And actually it can cause quite a lot, maize stubble can cause quite a lot of problems in the establishment phase. We found that actually rather than doing any preparation work to the soils what we actually do is